happy 350th podcast, Falcon Paladin.
Ooh, that's a nice number. I like it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if years weren't 52 weeks, I would call this our 7-year anniversary because it's nice and round around that, you know?
Hmm,
Yeah.
that could work. I'll take it.
You sound very enthused about this anniversary.
Yes, quite enthused.
Uh-huh.
I just didn't know it was coming up, so yeah.
Well, I wouldn't expect you to. I see how it is.
I mean, yeah, not good with anniversaries, that's for sure.
I'm 90% sure I could have said this was the 100th episode and you would have believed me.
No, you'd have to be more than that.
Hmm.
Oh, certainly
Certainly.
more than
Okay.
that.
What if I had gone over if I said this was the 450th episode?
I would have bought 450.
You would
Yeah,
have both.
I would have taken that one for sure.
Good to know. Good to know.
If you want me to zoom out a bit, I can do that.
Yeah. Zoom out.
Okay, I'm gonna have to disconnect the camera for a second.
Oh, oh. Oh no, that shoved me to your side. I don't like it over here. Uh, uh, the world's worst cosplay.
It's scary.
Ugh.
No, this, that, the other, etc. Come on. Anywho, good Thanksgiving weekend for me. Played some
Right.
basketball. Went to a football game with the brothers. It was very
I
exciting.
did see the photo you posted of you with your brothers at a football game. I thought it was very funny that they're all, in hoodies and stuff, but you're the one who's like wrapped up with your hoodie up and a beanie, and you're like, I am cold, and everyone else is just kind of like, yeah, well, it's chilly.
They're wearing hats. Come on, there's
Mm,
hats, except for one of my brothers. One of my brothers is not wearing a hat. Plus, he's the one that's like balding.
oh, yeah.
And I showed it to my kids, and my oldest was like, "Someone get that man a hat. He must be very cold." And I was like, "Yeah, fair."
Someone get that man a toupee and a hat.
Yeah, maybe so. Anyway, yeah, it was great. It was the first time all six of us went to a football game together,
I can't believe
which
that.
is, I know, it's crazy, right? Like, all of us are huge BYU football fans, but I mean, the thing is, my youngest brother, he was born when I was 21.
Right.
So we lived in the same house for about 3 months at one point when he was a baby, and then
Right.
I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was it. I was out of there, and I'd go to football games every once in a while. He'd go to football games every once in a while. Other brothers would go to college. They'd be gone. They'd move away. They'd leave the state. They'd come back. So it was just like we never quite lined it up to where all of us were going at the same
Mm.
time. And then they were all in town for Thanksgiving, and there was a football game, and we were like, let's do it. Let's get it done.
Fair enough. Mark that off the bucket list.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We all five of us went to Texas for a football game last fall in 2023, but one of our brothers was not able to make it. So
Mm.
we were almost there with that one. Five out of
Almost.
six wasn't bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
BYU win?
They did. Yeah,
Excellent.
won by about 2 scores, which was nice. So
Two scores. That
yeah, I mean, if I
four
say
scores in 20.
like 18 points, like what do you mean by that? What do you understand that to be?
Uh, well, if you say football, I know 18 points is moderately ahead, right? Like it's not 60 to 4, and it's not soccer where 18 points would be insane.
Right. Where they would like end the game before that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah, it was good. Didn't blow them out, but like it was pretty comfortable in the fourth quarter, which is nice. So
Hmm.
had a good time. My brother brought his kids, brought two of his boys with him, and we were teaching them the fight song and like getting them fully indoctrinated in this whole silly football thing, and
Get
it
them
was
in.
nice.
Yep. Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely get them young. One of them is like 6. I think the other
Oh
one's
yeah.
maybe 10.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
fully intending to indoctrinate my. I think she's like almost 3 niece with like Pokemon plushies for Christmas. I'm just like,
Ooh.
here's a bunch of stuffed Pikachu's and Charmanders and stuff. You know?
Ask your dad for the credit card so you can play the card game online.
No, no. Just, you know, regular Pokemon. Not the online card game, of which I am playing.
Right. I was gonna say
Yeah,
that's why, because
yeah.
you know all the ins and outs. You can teach her.
Mm, yeah, most of that game is opening packs. Not a lot of teaching involved.
That's fair. But even if you're just playing regular Pokemon, you're still buying packs. Like you're still gonna
Mm,
have to have money for that, right?
only if you're playing the card game, right?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
could,
you're talking about the Vitero games.
yeah, the
Yeah.
mainstay Pokemon games. You know,
Gotcha. Red and blue,
right?
black and white.
Yep. Can you name any others?
Um, many other Pokemon games all the time. Big cash cows.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Anywho, good. Yeah. Anything else we have to talk about here?
Nope. Let's wrap the podcast up here.
Yeah, we're done.
We're
That's
done.
it. Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour.
7 year show, and it's gonna be almost 7 minutes. I think that's fitting.
Yeah. Just, we always do this. Just a little check-in, see how things are going.
Yep.
Go back to our own lives. That's it. It's the podcast that simulates running into somebody at the supermarket.
I like that idea. Oh, I think that's really funny. I mean,
People might sub to that, actually.
yeah, maybe. The problem is we don't live like the nearest supermarket between each other. That would be really hard to film on location.
Simulate. You notice I said the word simulate.
Right, exactly. I'm suggesting we script it in a supermarket.
Oh.
That's still simulating it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sure. Something equidistant, something in like the Congo, maybe.
maybe. Yeah.
That might work. Middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Mhm.
Worth a shot there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Hon-
idea.
Honestly, anywhere that it is not hot, I will go. Anywhere where it is not 35 degrees and 90% humidity.
Yeah, you're on board.
Yeah.
It is a balmy 0 degrees Celsius right now, right on the freezing point.
That's lovely.
It is kind of glorious.
Mm-hmm.
Got some snow. I haven't really gotten snow yet, though. Interestingly enough, so some couple dustings, like an inch, but I mean that barely counts. That's
Yeah.
honestly nothing. So
Wow.
when
It's
we
just
get the foot of snow, I'll be sure to whine about it.
fair play.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the issue here is we're living in a post-Arcane world where it's like nothing seems like it's worth talking about. You know?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah, I listened to a podcast where some other people talked about Arcane,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they really enjoyed it too.
Mm-hmm.
They were comparing it to Blue Eye Samurai and Into the
Oh.
Spider-Verse for like some of the best animated stuff we've gotten recently.
Yeah.
And they were like Arcane's in a different level compared to Blue Eye Samurai. And I'm like, I am not sure that it is. Like,
Oh.
Arcane is great, but Blue Eye Samurai was, I almost think, equally great.
Really?
Their character work, their voice acting, the animation, the fight scenes, the music.
Mm-hmm. All good
I don't
stuff.
think back at Blue Eye Samurai and think it was lesser than Arcane in any way.
Okay.
What do you think?
Speaking of someone who's only seen the first episode of Blue Eye Samurai, I think I definitely enjoyed Arcane more because it grabbed me.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's probably just art style and like setting. I'm a little more enamored with the dystopian future of Zaun and the
Kind of the,
Undercity kind of people.
kind of the steampunky aspects to it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Setting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I should go back and give Blue Eyed Samurai another shot while I still have the Netflix subscription, I suppose.
As long as you've got it, yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a
Yeah.
shot.
Mm.
No, I also think some of the messaging in Blue Eye Samurai is maybe a little bit better than Arcane. Because
Yeah.
I feel like the messaging, especially in season 2, is a little bit muddied. And like, what are you trying to say exactly with this? You know?
Yeah. Arcane definitely like stumbles at the final hurdle where its own lore gets in the way of having a message, right? Where they're like,
Yeah.
the Black Rose is super cool and interesting, right, guys? And
Everyone's
like,
like, What?
Yeah,
What is it? Yeah.
yes, but like, what is it? you know.
Uh,
So probably, yeah. But I mean, thinking on arcade, the only message you can really get is that like people are driven by their worst desires, right, or their worst instincts, stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's a really just depressing thing to take out of media. Like,
yeah, it is. But I mean, that's a lot of what Blue Eye Samurai is too. It's like we are driven by our worst impulses, but we also have the agency and the choice to do something else with that, to
true,
make another choice.
true, and that
And I'm not
is.
sure that Arcane does anything like
I mean,
that.
it definitely does when like you've got like the final battles across the bridge and like with the boats and stuff, and you get like the coming together of the people who initially were like, no, I'm not signing up with the topsiders, right? Like, I'm gonna get out of the city while I can, and then some of them come back and they're crossing that bridge, which is season one is very much a milestone of like delineating the people, and that's where like massacres happened historically, and so them coming forward and crossing that bridge is literally representationally suggesting of them building a bridge to cross their past. It's very much a very literal, on the nose metaphor,
Yeah.
and that's people coming together to work for the betterment of the future against existential horror. Which,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Working together against an external threat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's not quite the same thing as intentionally deciding to put aside your baser instincts. That's like, I'll die if I don't do this, therefore,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas doing it without that external intrinsic threat is like less impressive.
Right.
That's all. That's all. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, anywho, I just think Blue Eye Samurai is great. I think Arcane was also great. I'll put it in my pantheon. I've really enjoyed the Spider-Verse films as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait for part 3.
I don't think I've seen part two.
You should one of these days.
I should.
I
Just
don't know where the heck it's streaming. Where the heck are Sony things streaming these days?
Disney Plus, probably.
I don't think so. Sony owns it.
Sony.
Ooh, it's on Netflix right now. Let's go.
Oh, we have to play this game. We haven't played this for so long.
Oh yeah, is it on your Netflix? Yeah, so Across the Spider-Verse is on Netflix, but Into the Spider-Verse is not currently streaming, which is stupid.
I have Into the Spider-Verse.
Uh-huh. On what?
Netflix.
The Microsoft Store?
No.
Oh, Netflix. Oh, Netflix. The hell?
I don't have Across the Spider-Verse.
All right. Where is it then? It's got to be somewhere.
Let's find out.
Why? So I searched Spider-Verse movies streaming, and it's like the about thing that Google does on the right side. It has it in Spanish.
Interesting.
It gives me the title of the movie in Spanish, but then like the synopsis and everything else is in English. What the heck? That's really funny. Anywho,
So Google is telling me I can buy it on YouTube or Amazon Prime or Apple TV.
so it's a purchase,
Yeah,
not like a rent.
yeah. Well, I could rent it presumably as well. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but nothing's just like you have the streaming service.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
It's no. You're already paying a subscription. Here it is. No, none of that.
Wow, that is stupid.
Yeah.
Why is this so hard? Honestly,
Good. An
I
excellent.
mean, I
question.
guess in the past it
Money.
was you had to go to the video store and like rent it, right?
Right. And then you had to hope nobody else was renting it. So this is still better, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave your house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a million Spider-Mans on Disney Plus, and none of it is the Spider-Verse movies.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Yeah.
like all of the like 90s cartoons and the 2000s
okay.
cartoons and the team-ups and the Spider-Man Homecoming is out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But not
like
the
the
animated ones.
anywho, whatever.
Mm.
Fine. You should watch it. You should really
Yeah.
watch it.
I'll get to it.
I swear we talked about it. Did we really not? Guess
I've seen the
not.
first
Huh.
one, but not the second. Yeah.
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 Huh. All right, cool. We'll plan on it at some point.
At some point. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Should we go Warhammer?
Yeah, let's talk about Warhammer.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. It is. I only finished it today.
Dang.
Yeah. I mean,
Fresh on your mind then.
I could have finished it yesterday, but nah, had a lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Your day off, get some listening done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I listened, you read with your peepers, Warhawk by Chris Wraight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Warhawk indeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's book 6 in the Siege of Terra series.
Accurate.
Yeah. So in the afterword, he says this book tries to do 2 things. The first is to be the 6th installation in the Siege of Terra series. The second is to complete the story of the White Scars and the Horus Heresy.
Which I feel like it does.
Yeah, I feel like it does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He also says that, interestingly enough, I think you've told me this, but he says before the books came along, the White Scars had no background at all. Like deciding what to do with them during the Heresy required some thought, he says.
I think that's true, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
that's crazy to me.
yeah.
40K's like, we have all these legions. What are those guys? I don't know. They're real fast and ride around on bikes. It's like, is there anything else? Not really.
Well, it's that and the vaguely every Eurasian steppe people ever, from like the Mongol hordes to Genghis Khan and all those.
It's the same thing, but yes.
Yeah, I was thinking of someone else. I don't know. Am I?
Fair enough.
Yep. Yeah, so there's a couple of like that, because you got to remember, all of the Horus Heresy is technically a retcon, like everything. So up until Dan Abnett did his book on the Alpha Legion, called Legion, still the best name for a book in the Horus Heresy.
Pretty good.
There were no books on the Alpha Legion either.
Fair enough. So there were multiple legions in this world build where they're like, we don't have time to really do anything with those guys.
I don't know if it's like they didn't have time. It's just they hadn't thought to do anything, because the legions were all prehistorical myth for the Imperium in 40K. It's like the number of people who know the history of the book. Like, there are 400 books set in 40K, 10,000 years later, that just, like, these characters don't interact with the White Scars, so they, like, there's no reason for them to know them, and if they don't know them, you don't actually have to write anything solid, other than it was like, oh, there was, like, a Primarch guy who got missing fighting in the webway.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. Or he died.
Maybe. Like, someone says something once, and they're like, that's it. That's canon now. There's a lot of that. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that before, but yeah, it's a lot, especially the Siege of Terror, there's a lot of, like, somebody said something once 20 years ago, and we have to kind of justify it in this book.
Kind of.
Which is tough.
Yeah, which I feel like they do a pretty good job of. There are definitely moments in the book, and I would love to have written them down, but it definitely feels like, okay, this is them explaining what someone wrote in a book 20 years ago, you know?
I have them. The afterword has a bunch that
Oh,
he
it does?
talks
Excellent.
about, so we'll get there. Yeah.
Excellent, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I just feel like in the world build, it could have been like, there are 10 legions. It's so much easier to manage 10 legions than friggin' around 20, mysteriously, depending on how many you want to count, right?
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, I appreciate that it's as varied and, like, expansive as it is, and that the legions do exist.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, if you can't find the time to world build every one of your legions, like, why have 20?
Why
That's
have
all I'm
20?
saying.
Historical reference, Rome had 20 legions, so they have 20 legions.
Oh, right. You told me that. That's right. They were just copying.
Yeah.
They were copy-pasting from the ancient Rome.
Right.
Fair. Okay. So that's where they wrote themselves into a corner.
Right.
They're like, man, that'd be so cool if we had 20 legions like Rome. Like, yeah, that'd be cool. And then later they're like, holy fuck, 20 is a lot of legions.
Right. And that's why you end up with the Alpha Legion having their Primarchs be called Alpharius and Omegon. It's like someone wrote that on a deadline, you know?
Totally, 100%.
And anger on the Angry Marine. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically he says the White Scar's action in the story from urban myth basically is to retake the Lion's Gate spaceport from the enemy.
Yep.
Like, we have that. Also, a mysterious object known as the Sky Fortress attempts to bring the Khan back to the Inner Palace once this is achieved, but it fails, crashing to the ground.
Yeah. So
Like,
that.
that's it. That's 2. And then 3 is the Khan, for some reason, is not present when the loyal Primarchs accompany the Emperor for the final confrontation. I'm like, we don't know why.
Right. He just doesn't.
Somebody forgot to put in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty much. Yeah. It. They do that a bunch. Like Lehman Russ turns up at Terra, but we know that Lehman Russ doesn't fight on Terra during the siege, so they had to write a story for him leaving and not making it back in time somehow. You know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of a mess. It's pretty graceful, all in all, considering what they had to work with and what they had to do.
Right. Like if you didn't know these things, I don't know that you'd catch a lot of them. Yeah.
No, and that was me. I didn't know. And at the afterward, he's like, "By the way, there was this and this and this," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get that. I can see it now.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing. Yeah, I think you did a great job with it." So,
Yeah. Chris Wraight
Yeah.
does write some really good books, so I was not surprised that he managed to handle this very well.
yeah, he's just good with characters too.
Mm-hmm.
He talks a lot about how I mean, this is what a lot of the Horus Heresy is doing, is personifying, especially the traitor legions, and not just making like they are pure abject evil and bad. This one has flies. This one does disease. This one is the blood god.
Right.
They're all pretty much the same. It's like, no, let's give them some variety. Let's give them some personification, right?
Right. Let's give him some character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of making them all Saturday morning cartoon villains twirling their mustaches, being like, "I'm going to get the child and the prize, and I will be victorious." You know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
no. There are several times in this book where it'll cut to a trader space marine and give you a little bit about him and like what he's thinking about, what he's doing. My favorite is absolutely the Sons of Horus, like captains who are like, "Well, Horus should be down here fighting with us, or should we be led by Abaddon?" And like, "Oh, but we need to like go and do something impressive so we can make a name for ourselves as well. I hear something about a black sword. Let's go find him."
Yeah.
It's like I've summarized it up pretty succinctly, but it's really well written. It feels like that guy has a genuine need to like prove himself to do something and gets in over his head very quickly when he tries to.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, I mean, right.
They cut back to that guy and he's like, "Oh, there's the black sword. Oh, I'm dead." Because
Yeah,
Sigismund
it's
is
effectively like, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Huh. Wow, he's really fast with this thing. I can't block it.
right. Because Sigismund is the embodiment of martial prowess, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, Wraight writes and says that Sigismund basically embodies what 40K is. What the Imperium is in 40K is not idealistic. It's not for the good of mankind. It's not these ideal principles. It's destroy the evil. Do not empathize with the evil. Do not give it the time of day. Take it out. The end. That's what we're
Right.
all about. And that's
Yeah.
all Sigismund turns into.
Yeah, and he's like, even when he's fighting Khan, he's like refusing
Yeah.
to like even say anything. It's like, there's no need. There's no words here.
Yeah. He's like, this is someone he's sparred with before. Like they
right.
laughed together. They know each other. And he just will not engage with him on a human level at all. And Karn, who it's a struggle to try to say words for him, is trying to engage.
Right.
And Sigismund's like, nah, you got nothing. Yeah, Wraight says Sigismund is the 40K Imperium, fixated on crushing his enemies with no thought as to why or what a victory over them might achieve or look like. Only that it has to be done, no pity and no remorse. Yeah, that's what Sigismund is like, kind of falls into when he gets the sword. So,
what I will say also to like what the Imperium is, this book is setting up. It's probably listed in there in the afterword. What Euphrates Keeler is doing with the church.
Yeah.
And like their kind of doctrines on how they engage the enemy. And I feel like once we've seen what Euphrates Keeler's doing, it actively explains the last book and like what their plan really was to let her out of the Blackstone, have her not preach, but instead to just lead the grassroots faith that was propping up in the war zone, I guess. And I like it's like okay, I kind of get it now. She's not actively preaching. She's
Mm-mm.
just taking command of the people who do believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they do. Yeah. Yeah. And again, all the skull imagery that's in 40K,
Mm-hmm.
the reason there's skull imagery in 40K is because Euphrates Keeler, on her own, wandering around a war zone, was like, huh, this skull looks neat, and picked it up and started carrying it around.
Well,
That's it. That's the thing.
well, okay. So two points. One, that skull protected her from an Iron Warrior. Okay, so
Okay, fine.
an Iron
No,
Warrior
you're right.
lost the staring contest with a skull. Like
With
that's
a
canon.
skull.
And two, I'm 90% sure that like the skull motif is around in like before this moment. So like, how do you explain all of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems to exist. But I mean, come on. The way Chris is writing this, it's like this is the thing. This is the moment that
Hmm.
this whole deal turns into goals that we see everywhere in 40K.
Yeah, which I mean, it's definitely. Is he saying it's all of 40K is like obsessed with skulls, or the church is? Because those are two
The,
different things. Well,
the church
sort
in
of. They're
particular,
pretty
yes.
like tied in, but like they're not strict. It's there's a Venn diagram that is not a complete one circle. You know.
Right. Yeah, I'd say the church though.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Like she's having everyone gather them and build shrines, and like everyone's clutching one, taking them into battle, and
Mhm.
you can. I wish there was maybe a little more time on her like working out how the army is like actually going to function. Like they very quickly just be like, yeah, we lose every fight we're in, but we worked out that like two platoons, and that's basically enough to kill a space marine,
Right.
right?
And everybody will die, but the space marine will also die. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like too the moment where they're like, we're kind of running out of weapons and stuff, and it's like, well, there's a lot of promethium lying around. Let's
Around
jerry rig some flamethrowers.
flamethrowers. Yeah.
And we can hand those out. It's like, cool, that sounds good.
And it's like, oh, okay, so in 10,000 years, the church definitely won't have a fetish of burning people alive, then, will it? Mm,
Right.
mm. Ugh.
Yeah. And once again, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's just all these future things they have to set up, and
Oh,
it's just this Keeler's not thinking about
what
this
about
at all.
no?
She's just it's a moment of need. She's thinking about what they have nearby, what they can use. That we got a lot of promethium. Let's use that. That's
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no symbology here or anything.
No, not yet.
But that's what it turns into
Into that, yeah.
because that's how people work.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing. Also, Chris talks a lot about how it bothered him that the general consensus about the Death Guard was that they kind of got ground down and ground down and ground down and then finally just broke and accepted the warp.
Mm.
He said that didn't sit well with me, especially with a Legion, with a Primarch,
Mm-hmm.
right? I wanted it to be a choice. I needed him to have a moment where he chooses this.
Mm.
And he says, I needed it to be a choice between two terrible options, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not, none of this is good, but he did make a choice, and that's why the Death Guard are where they are today.
Right. A lot of because I think Typhus is a character that preceded the Horus Heresy as he's like as a character he is older in the
Oh,
lore
yeah.
than right, and so
Yeah.
I think the thing that he's fixing here is that when you read the last book, whose name I've forgotten, where the Death Guard actually fall, it very much is a case of like, did Typhus just trick Mortarion into doing this thing? Were they ground down into like he had no choice, and so it was a lot of Typhus, and so this book does a lot for like Mortarion being like, You know, I'm just gonna say that if I was weak in anything, it's that I loved my sons. Like, it's giving him a little bit of his perspective on like why making this choice was right for him at the time.
Right.
And Jagatai throws that back at him, like when he's at the end, and I think that's a really good way to like wrap that up from the earlier conversations that he was having with like his lieutenants. You know?
Yeah. No, that is so good.
Yeah.
Jagatai is getting his ass beat, and like through his broken teeth, he's laughing at Mortarion
Mm.
and being like, "Yeah, check me out. Like you've got me to within an inch of death, and my spirit isn't broken,
Broken. Right.
but you
You.
broke, you piece of shit." And Mortarion's like, "Fuck
You.
oh, he gets so mad.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, and it's like, yeah. I mean, go like Moltarian's thing is that like they do not break. He calls his death guard his unbroken blades. Like just being able to
Yep.
take hits is like their thing, and like endurance. It's all they care about. And then
Yep.
here's Jagatai deliberately not fighting in like his style and being like, "Look at me take these hits, and I'm still standing. I didn't hit no bell." You know,
Yeah.
it's really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, it's good. It's a great thing. And I mean, yeah, we're all over the place here, obviously, but
Obviously, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And like just the fact that Jagatai rope-a-dopes Mortarion is kind of hilarious. It's a very boxing thing. Like it's very much like a 20th century, 18th century boxing strategy that he employs against him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do like the moment too where it's like Jagatai's Mortarion's like, "I can't die, you idiots," and Jagatai's like, "I can, and that's why I'm winning this
Right.
because I'm fighting for my life and you're not, and you
Yeah.
know how that goes. You're a warrior. You understand that setup." Yeah.
Yeah. I saw
And then
a
I'm like, but then Mortarion gets beheaded, so I'm like, you
well.
tricked a little bit, I think.
I mean, he can't die. It's true. He can just.
Oh,
Uh,
well,
he can be banished to the warp because he's like a
yeah,
demon now. But he'll come back. And like we've read 40k
right.
books where he's alive, so we know he can't die.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. No, I know. But I mean, it's kind of splitting hairs. If you can get beheaded and removed from your corporeal body, I think that counts as dying.
True. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like I died, but I got better. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's right. It's immortality where you cannot die, and there's immortality where you resurrect every time you die, right? Two different things. We need different words for this because the perpetuals have the same thing
Thing.
going, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, some of them at
Some of
least.
them, that's what I'm saying. Some of them cannot die. Some of them resurrect when they die.
Right. So we
Yeah.
have elvish mortality and
Yeah. Jesus mortality. Jesus immortality.
yeah, where there's like a
Yeah.
cooldown 3 days, you come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Bingo. That's
Okay.
it. So, okay. So, like, Karn also gets beheaded by Sigismund.
Does he get beheaded? Is that the?
I mean, yes.
I think he gets
I'm
stabbed.
pretty sure that's what the fight. He gets his limbs removed.
Right, because there's a lot of like he's raging during that fight, and then
Yeah.
the book does say that Korn is like swelling him with power, healing his wounds.
Yeah.
And as he's like demanding Sigismund be angry, he he loses, right? And he feels his god leave him, and it's like implied that he's dying, but like Khan is a character in 40k, so I know he's not
Right.
dead, right?
Right.
Um,
So it says, "Thus was Karn cut down. He was dispatched in silence, cut to the earth with a frigid disdain, hacked and stamped down into the ashes of a civilization, his throat crushed, his skull broken, and chest caved in. He was fighting even as his limbs were cut into bloody stumps. Even as the reactor and his warp-thrumming armor died out, raging and thrashing to the very end, the last thing he saw, on that world at least, was the great dark profile of his slayer, the Black Templar, turning his immaculate blade tip down and making ready to end the last bout the two of them would ever fight."
yeah, I mean that could be like a heart pierce, and not necessarily decapitation, but it definitely sounds like he's got his limbs removed, his skull is
Yeah.
cracked open,
Correct.
his chest is caved in.
Yeah, not good.
He's a vegetable. He's a red smear on the
Yeah,
ground.
not doing
Yeah.
great, but also can't die.
But well, that's the interesting thing. Can't die. Uh, like so,
There?
all of the four Chaos Gods all have a character that like is still a Space Marine but embodies like their worship. So that's Typhus for the Plague Marines or the for Noble.
Yeah.
It's Azek Araman for Zeech. It's Lucius and in some cases Fabulous Bile for Slanesh. But it's Khan for Khorne.
Mm-hmm.
And like they never explicitly say these characters can't die. Well, except for Lucius. Lucius can't die.
Right. We know that.
He has Jesus. Well, it's parasitic Jesus immortality with him, because he like takes over the body of whoever kills him.
Right. Which is kind of its own thing. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like
Anyway.
it's never explicitly said that like Khan can't die. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
Which it's plot armor, I suppose, but I feel like he could die.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be
So
weird.
Sigismund. So what? So what could have Sigismund done?
Burnt his body? I don't know. Like,
Okay. I mean, I just feel like if I'm Sigismund, I'm doing everything I can to make sure this guy doesn't get back up.
Right.
Right? And he's a demon at this point. You know that like regular ways of killing Space Marines doesn't really work here.
Right. We know that
So what? He impales him on the ground and walks away, and he's like, "Boy, sure hope that guy doesn't come back."
Kind of, yeah.
Sigismund, come on, man.
Because here's the thing: we know that he was being healed by Khorne during the fight, and
Yeah.
that eventually stops or slows. And so he's like, "Okay, great, I overcame your warp bullshit because now your limbs aren't growing back. I'm done. I've won. Excellent. Walk away." And I'm not saying Khan gets up and does a whole lot for the rest of the Siege of Terror, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
he could spend the next 6 months in a Bacta tank for all I know, but he gets better. Is the
Eventually, at some
Eventually.
point.
yeah.
Yeah. We might not see it, but he gets better.
We see a little bit of it.
A little bit. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. But we're also given the perspective of another world eater. I can't remember what his name is now, and it's not listed here under the dramatis personae. It's I can't remember his name, but there's another one who's like, I rode in a rhino with the Titans when they were bringing down the walls so I could get up there first, and I need to kill. And eventually he comes across Khan, and he's like, oh, I remember Khan. There's just enough of me left alive to like follow orders from Khan. Everyone knows him. He's a Space Marine that's introduction is to his job is to introduce Khan in the story, but he's there, and it's a neat little perspective of what it was like. It's like a refresher for like, here's the Butcher's Nails. It's been about 7 books since we talked about these, so
Right.
just to remember,
refresh that. Right.
This is what these guys are about, you know.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't understand why the dramatis personae on the wiki just doesn't list every character. Because I assume they're taking these from the books. Because you told me that they have these at the start of the books.
Yeah.
And like, why would you not list all of the characters in the book? Because
I mean,
like, Khan is not on here.
I looked at the list, and there were a hajillion names, and I just walked right past all of them.
No, that's fair for you. But like, to do at the start of the book when you're gonna read it. But now when I want to talk about these characters, I want names, and they just...
Karn's here. Scar High is
Scar
here.
High, that's him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've assumed that whoever wrote the wiki has just copied and pasted it out of there, but
Nope.
there's no world eaters here.
That's weird, because it's in my book. So, dumb.
Nice.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, so we get a bunch of Plague Marines talking about like what it's like to now be a Plague Marine as well. It's a lot of interesting perspectives. And I think the most interesting thing is that after Mortarion gets banished, they kind of wake up and go, oh, this is not nearly as cool as I thought it was. This is kind of disgusting.
Yeah. It like implies they're being actively, constantly brainwashed.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, that is like so Nurgle does like a lot of decay to the body and stuff, but he makes it painless, or it makes you enjoy pain. And like playing Marines laugh a lot about being stabbed and burnt and all of the usual stuff that happens to enemies of the
Yeah.
Imperium, right? So I think historically there's always been like a little bit of more of a warp infusion with like how they perceive the material world, but I didn't really think of that as complete mind control, as to like accept everything. Because like the doctor, the apothecary, is straight up just like fascinated by these two little slugs that can communicate with each other like they're twins with psi powers.
Yeah. I mean, he's cool with like cutting people open and like torturing them to death too. So yeah.
Right, right. But like at the end, he's like, "What the fuck is this thing? It's a monster. It's a little tiny monster that's hanging out on my armor." You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun moment.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and they're like, "It'll pass. Don't worry about it." Like you're basically in psychic shock right now.
Right.
And then the book's very clear to be like, "And it did pass, and everything was cool again." It's like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of depressing."
Right.
Yeah. Really, really enjoyed Grandma's storyline in the book.
Urda.
Yeah. Nope.
Grandma. Oh,
The younger grandma, Ilya.
Ilya, yeah.
Yeah,
The
Ilya's
sage.
great.
Yeah, she's really good.
She's like, "I'm crazy old. I'm gonna die any minute, but I have a lot of stuff to do."
So let's get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's introduced in the White Scars books as like,
Yeah.
here's someone who worked at like the Munitorum and was crazy good with numbers, so they made her a general and assigned her to the White Scars,
Because the White Scars had trouble with like
organizing
logistics.
things. Yeah. They weren't too big on counting the bolter shells before and after a battle. And they touch on that a little bit here, where she's like, "Oh, they've gotten better at this," you know. But yeah, she's treated like as a reverent sage to them, and like
Yeah.
thoroughly has like adopted their culture.
Yeah, and she's got this like White Scar bodyguard at all times, and she's like, "Go fight with your friends," and he's like, "No."
No,
It's like, "This is my job, this is my honor, and if someone come try to take it from me, I'd kill them." And she's like, "Fine."
All right. And she's like, "You have to go sleep," and she's like, "Okay, but wake me up in 4 hours," and he's like, "Uh-huh."
Okay. Then she's like, she woke up and she immediately knew it had been longer than 4 hours.
Uh,
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
great.
White Scars aren't exactly the biggest practical jokers. Well, most Space Marines aren't, but if I think it would have been a really funny detail to have her wake up while he's like adjusting the chrono in the room to look like it's only been 4 hours. I think that would have been really funny, but not a lot of humor in the Grimdark.
Not, I mean, yeah, there is, but
There
not a
is.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of like practical jokes though.
Right. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, haha, I emptied your last pack right before the battle. Isn't that funny? uh, but yeah, so, what's the name?
Yeah, but she basically, yeah, I mean, she's all
Ilya.
over the place. She's tasked with kind of like gathering together this group
Right.
of
Tanks.
like soldiers and tanks and supplies that are left and going to retake the Lion's Gate spaceport.
Mm-hmm.
So she does all that, and she's awesome at it, as she usually is. And then she's like, doesn't sleep for 3 days, and she's like, "I'll sleep for 4 hours to make up for it." And I'm like, "Dude, this is not how this works."
You're old. You need more sleep, not less.
Yeah.
And then she
And
wakes
then-
up.
and friggin' well, and then Jagatai comes and visits her,
Oh,
and again, hilariously, like trying to act like a human, like kind of like, "I wasn't sure if I was supposed to bother you. I was going to bother you or not," and she's like,
You're a Primarch. You can come in whenever you want. Ugh.
and he kind of tries to tell her that he's gonna go like, pretty much get killed by Mortarion, like that's his plan, right?
Right.
And she doesn't
Quite
hear it
get
at
it.
first, but then
Yeah.
when she wakes up, she's like, "Wait a second."
Oh, wait a hot dang second.
I know what he was saying.
Ready a Thunderhawk. Let's go there now. Which,
Yeah, let's go find him.
whew,
Right.
good thing they did. Um, I love. Okay, so it's a tiny detail, but there are because she goes and gets a whole bunch of tanks, whichever ones have like tox filters that are at 100% operational or whatever,
Mm.
giving them deployment orders to go and like retake the gate with them. We get given the insight of a couple of tank crews and their minds, and like I really enjoyed. I think it's the commander of the tank being like, um, whoever designed the Lehman Rust was a sadist and an idiot.
Yeah.
It is a death trap of a tank. The only thing that is as tall as it on the battlefield, is another Lehman Russ. So you can only hide behind another Lehman Russ.
She's like, and it's like, yeah, and it sucks for the people inside, and you can't escape it if anything goes wrong and stuff goes bad. But man, you can mass produce them real fast. So there are millions of them throughout the Imperium.
Right.
Right.
And I feel like that is one of those things where an author somewhere got a point to be like, explain why a model designed from 40 years ago from someone who had only read about tanks is a shit tank, you know?
And why there are so many of
Yeah.
them.
Wow, that's kind of par for the course.
Right,
But like
right.
that, yeah, I really enjoyed that.
That is fantastic. And then, yeah, there's the reveal. Like they're talking about the crew of the tank, and the driver never says anything, but is like really good at driving this tank, like mysteriously so. And then comes up with the idea. So yeah, so basically Jagatai is killed.
He's a mush. He is looking pretty con himself. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So he's able to behead Mortarion, banish him, but he's taken all of the punishment.
Right.
Basically dead, as far as anyone can tell. So yeah, and the White Scars don't just want to carry him.
Because they're like, we could literally pick him up and pull him apart if we move him wrong. So
Yeah.
we need to like find a way to get him out, and they're all doing this like really tribalistic death cry as they all feel their prime arc, and the Khan of Khans die, and they're like basically given over to rage and have left all restraint behind as they harry the fleeing Death Guard.
Yeah, and like the author's very clear to say, like, yeah, we think the World Eaters do that. They just lose themselves to the killing, but like every Space Marine has it in there somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
There's a line that's like, every Space Marine is only really at peace when they're killing something. That's how they're built.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to lose yourself in just going berserker mode, which is what the White Scars do. So, yeah.
But it's this tank drive that's like, look, we have enough space on the hull, and you could even put 2 people to ride on the sides to protect him. Yeah. It's like, okay. And it's...
So they do that. And then they get there, and it's like, so, I don't know, like, the tank commander's like, I have no idea who you are. She's like, yeah, I'm Iron Fist. And she's like, that explains a lot. Yeah. So anyway, they get Jagatai back to whatever's left of the Imperial Palace at this point. To
Malcador.
To Malcador, right? And
I think at the end of the book we're still left hanging on like what his fate is. We get like
but Malcador comes and finds Ilya and is like, "You're the one who brought him in," and she's like, "Yeah," and he's like, thank you, like effusive thanks for bringing him back, which indicates that there's a chance you can revive him, right?
And
if
we
he
get
were just dead, it wouldn't really matter.
Right, and we get a little update with Constantine Valdor, who's like, "Oh, the Khan's back. Okay, is he dead or alive?" And like, we don't know. It's like we don't know what the status is, but he's like, "Oh, good. Well, if he lives, that'll be one more blade for like the end of this, right?" Which implies that he is hopeful that he can be healed and get back up and help with like what is clearly a failing defense at this point. Like the walls, like the final walls are broken essentially.
Yeah.
They're like basically right outside the Imperial Sanctum, which is like a hop, skip, and a jump, and you're in the throne room now. And that's not good. It seems pretty
Not
bad.
great.
Seems pretty
Yeah,
bad.
Rogel Dorn is like feeling it at this point. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has just been running on no sleep, no anything for months and years at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and just not doing well. Can't rest, can't show any weakness because everything hinges on him. This is his
Right.
whole thing
Right.
is the defense, and it's the defense of the Emperor, which is even more important. So, yeah, he's having a tough time. Oh, and right, Moritarian has been like sending bad Wi-Fi signals out across everything for a long time now, right?
Bad Wi-Fi.
I don't know. What is it?
It's, I don't know, a mind pox making
Sure.
everyone sad. I don't know.
Yeah. So Mortarian is killed slash banished to the warp,
Warp.
and suddenly that's all gone.
Right.
And so Dorn feels and recognizes, oh, okay, like, yeah, the physical tiredness is still there, but whatever that extra mental
Malaise.
pressure that there was is gone. So
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So what's the other story that we're missing here? Basilio Foe? The
Yeah.
crazy old geneticist?
Right. He's running around the palace trying to put together his weapon that'll destroy all Astartes everywhere.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And he gets let out and then just kind of like left to his own devices, and he's like, well, I know the custodies are following me, so I'm gonna
Right.
throw them off the trail, and I'm gonna do a couple of hidden murders, a couple of very public murders. I'm gonna steal some medical equipment and change my face, you know.
Yeah.
And then he breaks into one of apparently many laboratorium in the city, because apparently the emperor is so big on like genetics work. There are just labs all over the place, and like that's what the bulk industry here is like
Right.
scientific research. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
It's like, yeah, I can buy that.
And he gets found by a Night Lord, which is, Night Lords are always the kindest of legions, and real people who embody the spirit of a warrior fighting the old men, right?
Yeah. No, it's bad. Yeah, he's like, I can hear a space marine coming. Oh shit. He's like, well, I guess I better run. This probably is gonna work, and then it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, and so then, right, so then he gets shot at, but just enough to like take his legs out, and not kill him. And then he gets hoisted under this night guard's arm, and like they're running through the palace, and he's like, well, this sucks. I'm not having a good time right now, but also, why am I not dead exactly?
Right. He does have a really interesting conversation with the Night Lord, where the Night Lord's apparently got some chaos symbols on his armor, and he's like, oh, I can see that this guy has some sorcery bullshit on his side. He might have more. I need to play this carefully. And he's talking to him, and like, he's like, oh, you really don't know whether or not you should kill me or let me live? And he's like, yeah, I don't know what would do more harm,
Right. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I see you. I see you have importance in the future. Some futures, other futures, not so much. Yeah. And he's like, I don't know if I should kill him. And then he decides to kill him, and then, what's his face? Constantine shows up, and he's like, how about no?
Yeah, how about no?
Once again, a Night Lord gets their ass kicked very, very quickly and easily by more competent warriors.
Well, I mean,
Poor guy.
He's a Custodes. Like, that's not a
I
fair
know.
fight. That's not a. He's like the Primarch of the Custodes as well. It's like,
I know.
we
I'm
can
saying,
forgive
the Night
him
Lords
this one.
never get good moments at all.
Yeah.
There's nothing to offset this, is my point, I
true.
guess.
Yeah. So Valdor, though, he's running around with like his magic spear. Every time he kills something, he learns something about them.
Yeah, or like something about the future, and he's like, "This all sucks. I don't like what the future is at all." And it's like, good call, man.
Should we be worried about that, Valdor? You seem to be learning a lot of forbidden knowledge that you don't seem particularly pleased with having,
Right. Well, I mean, once again, it's just kind of the loosey-goosey magic system in this world build.
So
It's like, oh yeah, sure. So every time he kills a Neverborn, he gets gifted with some arcane, terrible knowledge. And it's like, oh, so that should be happening to everybody who ever kills one of these.
No.
It doesn't really happen.
He has a magic weapon that's doing it.
Oh, So he has the magic spear, and that's why.
Yes. I think in
Mm.
one of the other books we see him get gifted it when he goes to fight in the
Yeah,
webway, right?
yeah. I
And
remember.
I'm not sure. I would need to look at that book where he gets it. But I think this is one of the books that's maybe doing a little groundwork for a future book,
Hmm.
that like a 40K book. Because Val, spoilers, Valdor's not dead. He doesn't die in the siege, but he is missing. Right? Like nobody knows where he is.
Okay.
And so I think this book is like setting up that he's learning a bunch of shit that maybe like compels him to go on a mission or do something, you know?
Yeah.
And like, well, like, how much do I spoil and how much is just like not a spoiler, you know? I think we're getting where he is in a book very soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Um,
Fair enough.
so we'll
Yeah, there's some
probably
pretty
read
good
those
moments
soon.
with him, like in the tunnels beneath the palace, like just coming upon like some pretty creatively designed demons.
Oh, the one with the candle? That's
The one
like,
with the candle that's like, we can hang out, we could be friends, it'll
I,
be great.
I've been here for years. I'm harmless, bro. Chill.
The description's like, and it had no eyes and a million terrible teeth, and it's
Teeth.
like, okay, you got to work on your presentation there. Your words are good, but you need to look less scary.
Right. Let's see how fast you are. Ha! Yeah. It's interesting to see like demons that aren't just like hulking brutes striding across the battlefield that are doing like
Yeah,
demony things in the dark places where people would fear to be generally and like doing something really cool with that. I really appreciated that.
yeah, that was some nice creativity. Big fan for sure.
Big fan.
Yep.
All right. So, do we have anything
Well, and then we have
else?
the whole thing with John Grammaticus and all the
Right. And Acte and Litu and
yeah.
Urda and the
Oh,
Hand
and
of
Urda's
Destiny.
story. That's right.
Uh,
So just real quick, pretty much the Perpetuals and friends end
mhm,
up lying to the palace somehow.
mhm.
Alfarius, who there's a great moment in the book. I think is it All or is it John? One of them asks him, "And who are you?" And he's like, "Don't you fucking say Alfarius."
Right.
So good, because that's what I felt. I was like, "Don't you dare, you
Don't you
piece
do
of
it.
crap." Yeah.
But
Anyway, so
that could
he's
really
like,
be Alfarius, though. Falcon, come on, it really could be this time. I,
I
I,
know.
I,
That's the whole
I'd
point.
just like to say, the other book I read this week, I read Deliverance Lost, which is, you're talking about there are too many legions. This is the
Yeah.
Raven Guard story about like what they do post Istvad, and
Oh,
it has a ton of like Alpha Legion bullshit in it, right? Which is very
not
fun.
surprised.
Like when it's done well,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's very fun. But there are multiple times where characters refer to themselves as the Primarch Alfarius. They're like, no, I am Alfarius. Like, and then it cuts to another Alfarius, and you're like, really, guys, come on. Like, I get it, but this is making it a little hard to listen to. Um,
Yeah. 100%.
but it's I'm there for it.
Yes. Anyway, the plan is there's a bunch of Alpha Legion in the catacombs of the palace for because
Because
because Alpha Legion bullshit, right?
Well, I mean, in the book where Dawn fights presumably the Alfarius,
Uh-huh.
there were Alpha Legion there who were like being dug up out of the ground. Who were like, yeah, we're in stasis in like coffins in the ground or whatever. They're just hanging out because we
Yeah.
need contingencies. So
Right.
my headcanon is that they have those on every planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Alpha Legion.
Right. You never know when you might need an Alpha Legion operative on some backwater world. We need to just leave one or two or 20,000.
Yeah, backwater world like
Yeah.
Terra right under the Imperial Palace.
Wow.
Right. So anyway, so their Alfarius is like, if we can meet up with those dudes, then we can do some stuff. It'll be great. And Grammaticus and all are like, we don't have any other plans, so
Nice.
fine, I
I
guess. Let's
guess.
go.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's also like, okay, that's a decent plan, but it will get us into the palace. Like, they apparently know a back
Right.
way into the palace. That's good enough for us at the minute as well.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, they don't know what they're going to do,
do.
but they're going to get there. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much them. They're blah, blah, blah. They fly. I don't really care.
Litu is a drawer. He's making his own
That's
tarot
true.
deck. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Acte seems to think that these people are all of a type and they've been assembled by fate, maybe, right? Like
Like representing different
the
aspects of
best of humanity.
humanity.
Yeah,
To what end? I don't know. They
yeah.
don't know.
But
Yeah.
maybe it's just that kind of significance that invests them with like these are the these are the threads that history is woven with a kind of a deal, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if she's just like doing that because it's important to her that they know that, or if she's trying to like boost them around and be like, look, no, we're like we can do this. This is like this is how myths are made. People like us coming together to do a thing.
Right. Which, sure.
Sure,
That's cool.
sure. Yeah, but that's that. They're getting into the city somehow. Cool.
Right.
Um,
And they'll do
Erda.
more important stuff later.
More,
Yeah.
yeah, they will.
Erda.
Yeah. You can.
Yeah.
How about the more important stuff later? I'm gonna put a pin in it right now and say I don't think when they wrap all that up, I think you're gonna be like, you're gonna make a face like that. You're gonna make a face like that. 99% of it, I think you're gonna be like, cheers. But the very end, you're gonna be like,
Dude, this is a running thread since Calf. This storyline has continued since Calf.
yeah,
Oh, endings are so hard.
uh huh.
Endings are hard. I don't like them.
Endings are very hard. I mean, if with Acte there, who is Cyrene Valentin, this is a character who has been there since Monarchia, which is the first
Right.
heretic, which is pre-Calth.
Right. But I was thinking about this as I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's a different person.
Uh-huh.
Like, you can tell me it's this person that you introduced to us pre-Calf,
Uh-huh.
and who's like this saint and all this stuff. And sure, I know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
She is not this person in any sense. She
Yeah.
has different powers. She has a different attitude about everything. She's kind of a chaos worshiper now. She has so much confidence. It's like,
She was
what is going on?
No, she was kind of always a chaos worshiper. Two, this is
Fair,
her after
fair.
she's been killed and Erebus brought her back and accidentally made her perpetual. So she spent some time in the warp. That'll change
Yes.
anyone. That'll change the
I
best
know,
person.
but if you change them enough, what's the point? Like, if someone's unrecognizable from who they were before, then like, this
That's-
character's been around since 47 books ago. It's like, no, I don't think so.
Well, that's why they changed. That's why she took a new name. She felt sufficiently different.
No, but she could have just been some random psyker, right?
She
Who
could've.
shows up, and she didn't need all that other backstory. It doesn't matter. It has no implication about what's going on with this character.
Maybe it doesn't at the moment,
Okay, fine. Maybe it doesn't at the moment.
but you will
I
end
will
up going.
put a pin in it, as you said. Right. Grump, grump, grump.
Grum, grum, grum.
Grump, grump, grump. All right. Erda.
Erda, yeah.
Yeah, that son of a bitch Erebus tracks down Erda and is like, hey, that awesome thing you did where you scattered the Primarchs? And I'm like, but that's not what the book said about the scattering of the Primarchs the first time. Anyway, that thing you did with the scattering of the Primarchs
That was really cool. Big ups.
awesome. It was the greatest thing. You are super cool. Come hang out with us demons. It'll be great.
Yeah, we'll raise you up. We'll make you totally awesome. I just want a photo and an autograph and
Yeah, you'll be a queen of the warp and everybody will think you're the best.
yeah, which is a horrific thing to suggest to Erda. She is utterly mortified at the suggestion that she did that intentionally to help the Chaos Gods.
Yeah. He's like, I did not do that to help the Chaos
Yes.
Gods. And he's like, it doesn't matter. It did. He's so cheery the whole time. He's trying so hard. And she just wants nothing to do with it. Under any circumstance, she's not tempted in the slightest bit.
No.
Yeah, he obviously has this hope. Like, he's never met her before. He doesn't know what she's like, but he has this hope that she did this thing.
Because she's
And
secretly
that-
a Chaos Whisper.
Right, I think so. I think
Right.
that's what he's wishing. Yeah.
That, well, so if we look at what Erebus has done holistically throughout the books, it's a lot of like stuff in the shadows to try and make people fall to chaos, right? Like he steals the Anathame, he gives it to Hugentemper. It's a lot of indirect stuff, and like he's hoping that she is a kindred spirit, and that while not outwardly, a chaos person, although he is now, she isn't ever. But he's
Right.
hoping that she is someone who is like scheming in the same way he did for a while, looking for ways to do something that seem
Right.
innocuous but can like really cause domino effects to lead to chaos worship. And that's what he's hopeful for, which is just not the case.
No.
No,
Not even a little bit.
not even a touch.
Yeah, we just get a little bit of a touch of Erebus' just complete confidence in himself. He's like, other people have regrets, but
Not
not
me.
me. This is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Sure, I've been kicked out of all the legions and everyone hates me, but like, I'm pretty popular with my warp friends, and
Yeah,
he's just he is incorrigible. You cannot put him down at all. It's amazing.
yeah. I mean, this is a guy who had his face flayed off by Horus, and he's just
Yeah.
like, I have no regrets. Everything was great. Everything is where it needs to be. I'm the hand of destiny, and I'm here to shape it at the end, like I did at the beginning. I guess
Yeah.
being a devil boy isn't so bad.
Incredible. It's another great moment that just shows who Erebus is, where she calls him little devil boy that like the people would have cast out of the village for poisoning the well.
Right.
And he doesn't react then, but later he's like, call me devil boy. Like he just keeps every little slight in and just lets it fuel him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's just easily offended. He can hide it sometimes, but yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. Fuck Erebus.
Yeah. So then he summons three giant demons to kill her when it's obvious that she's not going to join them.
Right.
And I guess it's just barely enough to counter whatever magic she has
Right.
that
Just-
Erebus can stab her to death. Like, huh. Well,
Okay.
it's real convenient.
All right. Yeah.
Because she wins. Like, she wins the fight against the three massive demons.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But it weakens and wounds her enough to where Erebus can just take her out at that point.
Right.
It was very well calculated, is what I'm saying. For someone who didn't know what her powers were, it worked out very well
Wow.
for Erebus. All right, is that it?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, so I'm assuming the Lion's Gate
Oh, right.
comes into play at some point here.
So we're basically told that from the Khan's perspective, the reasons for taking the Lion's Gate are obvious. Basically, they have
Yeah.
working guns. We can still harry enemy ships at the time, which they can't really. They can like do counterattacks, but they can't just blow the Lion's Gate out of the sky because they want it to land troops more efficiently.
Yeah.
But also, like, when Gilliman comes and the Khan still has this hope of victory, like there's a bunch of White Scars who are still like that they refuse to be like, yeah, everything's over. They're just like, no, victory's coming. We will build again, right? Gilliman's coming. We need a way to land his troops. We need a spaceport to do that. So,
Right.
um,
Mortarian's pretty dismissive of it, though. He's like, yeah, they can take the Lion's Gate, but so what? Like, we're winning anyway.
right. From their perspective, they are like days away from like killing the Emperor and bringing into
Right.
the throne room and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that unbridled optimism of the White Scars.
Indeed. That's what they do.
Yeah. So that's the Lion's Gate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are not reading a book next week because you want to read another book. Some indie
accurate. Well-
author, some little indie author you want
Well,
to give
no,
a
it
shout
doesn't
out.
come out until the 6th. I mean, it's Brandon Sanderson's Wind and Truth book, which is the 5th book in the Stormlight Archive of 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a lot.
Has he said it's definitely 10 books?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
I think he said that before he published the first one. He's like, this will be a 10-book series. Everyone's like,
Okay.
it's weird to put it that way, but okie doke.
It's like, how do you know that before you start? All right.
Well,
I guess you could
because
plan.
he had it outlined.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a
Yeah.
planner, that Brandon Sanderson. Tell you what.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't come out until the 6th. So, like,
Can
I
you-
can hammer something out by then.
You can hammer out a 500-page book in 4 days.
Yes.
Okay, then we are reading. Oh wait, hold on. Nope, that was this.
And then
book.
the
This
next
book.
week,
Oh, I'm sorry. 522 pages is the next book.
Mm. Okay.
Uh, we are reading Echoes of Eternity by Aaron Dembski Bowden.
Good old Aaron Dempsey Bowden.
Yes. Possibly. It's really hard to say if I prefer this book over the next one.
Mm.
The next one is the final book. It's in 3 parts. So The End and the Death, Volume 1, 2, and 3.
Huh. Is James Swallow involved at all?
No, it's all by Dan
Bummer.
Abnett. It's all Dan Abnett.
Aw. It's
But
all Dan Abnett. Okay.
yeah, I think you'll really enjoy those books. This one's really good because we know Aaron Dembski Bowden's really good.
Yes, we do.
But I don't know if this is my favorite or the next one. Like they're all so good.
All right. Looking forward to it then.
Cool.
Good, good. All right. Anything else?
Home Story Cup, touch on StarCraft, was the only tournament we've really had of note since the Esports World Championship, or Esports World Cup, or whatever it was called.
Right.
So the only thing I really have of note is Clem got to the very finals, and instead of playing TBT, he played. Okay, so 2 things happened in the semis.
Some TBT.
He did. In the semis, he
Yeah.
played 2 games of TBT against Gumi.
Yeah.
And said, no, fuck this, I'm going to play Protoss.
TBT sucks.
Yeah, where he played TBT, but as a Protoss, which was really weird. He lost, I think, 6 Colossus because he just, like, move commanded them or rallied them across the map. They were entirely undefended, and he just kept losing Colossus. It was really weird. But it was a 26-minute game, so it was like, okay, he didn't die in the first 4 minutes. He kind of knows how to play Protoss, right? Or at least how to counter Gumiho as Protoss.
Right.
He loses, but then he goes to the lower bracket, comes back and beats Gumiho again in the finals, and plays Protoss again, just totally. Like, instead of the trying Terran for a little bit, he's just like, no, it's just Protoss versus Gumiho. And he loses 3-2, so he won 2 games as Protoss. And I'm excited to go and watch those games.
What a goofball. Yeah, for sure. I want to see what his Protoss looks like.
Yeah.
God, that's really funny. Clem. Home Story Cup, dude. It's always a good time.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's basically a 3-day tournament in a bar, right?
Yeah.
So at one point, Cyril's like, yeah, I need to take a little break after that game, go to the bathroom. And Clem's like, oh, sweet, so that means I've got like an hour? And just leaves to go get a kebab or something in Crefeld, right? He just leaves, and he's due for his game in like 5 minutes. So they're calling him up and being like, "You need to get back in." It's the funniest. Like, it's not something you would ever see at like a DreamHack or a World Championship or anything like that. Stories and players having fun like that, I think, is a good time. A community event, I think, is very needed at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
I think Home Story Cup's really important, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So that's good. Good. All right,
Okay.
cool. Got my book to read.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's wrap it up. Oh, there are the birds. I was wondering where they were. I was like, birds? Did something kill you all? No, you're alive. Great.
The hate nearly did, yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
All
All right, good. That's going to be it from us. This has been Falcon Paladin and Somicron with another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour. You can find us on twitch.tv/Somicron. Throw a follow or a sub out there if you want. You can also find the VODs at youtube.com/@Somicron. If you want to subscribe over there, you can. And also, to support the podcast, you can buy merch at falconpaladin.store or by subbing at patreon.com/Somicron on a monthly basis. So again, thanks for watching. Leave some comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about next time. And until then, stay safe and healthy and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.